So one of the nice things about Portland is you know, I go along, I've been here for 12 years, and it seems like since I first got here, every once in a while I'd look over at these things, at these writing events, and I'd look over and I'd see our next reader, and he's just been a constant presence for me in my writing life in Portland, and so I'm extremely happy that he's still here and he's still doing it. And Yuvi Zalkow, you know, his first novel was published in 2012 by MP Publishing about a guy named Yuvi who can't write a novel. Brilliant! Yuvi! Let's see, his stories and essays have been published in Glimmer Train, Narrative Magazine, Card Magazine, The Daily Dot, The Poop Report, and others. He has created the I'm a Failed Writer online video series and erratically hosts a podcast called Neurotic Tornado. I almost said tornado. Neurotic Tornado, where he speaks about marital issues. You can find out way too much information about him at failedwriter.xyz, and I'm so happy to announce Yuvi. This is your protection.
Do this. Is it legal to sit? Am I allowed? I'm gonna take off my glasses. It's not you. It's just I'm less self-conscious if I can't see anybody. Well, thanks so much, Sage, and thank you so much, Dami. It's fabulous to be here. What an amazing group of readers, writers. Okay, so I am currently struggling through writing a never-ending novel that swipes my grandparents, they're Polish Jewish immigrants, and their immigration story to rural Georgia in the 30s. That's one thing I'm struggling with. I'm also struggling with the fact that I have a day job. I'm a technical writer at an online social collaboration software company. And if you're Facebook friends with me, you know I suck at online collaboration, social, and I'm a disaster. So that's difficult to have that day job. So as therapy for both the novel and the day job, I've been writing this overly long short story to deal with that, and so this is just some excerpts from this overly long short story. Hopefully it makes sense. With our collaboration software, my boss knows exactly how many likes I've gotten from coworkers, exactly how many comments I've made, exactly how many virtual pints of beer I've received. He even knows how many animated cat gifs I've gifed, which is 0. We get points assigned to these various activities and are assigned a status level based on our points. My boss tells me it's embarrassing that I've been here for 3 years and I'm still at goldfish status. Some 6-monthers have already leveled up to penguin. My boss is a colossal squid. It's not a bad place to work. They're good people. The social collaboration product we make is a good one, and they actually help people collaborate effectively in this modern world. Trademark. But I don't like collaborating in this modern world. My coworker Ann, she tells me she'd be happy to set up a personal profile for me on OkCupid or just on our internal dating site. Just what I need, I say, to date an effective collaborator. She offers to @mention me in the singles group, one of the many social groups in our product, as well as in the divorcee group. I remind her that I'm not officially divorced. Oh, in case anyone knows here, I'm still happily married to a woman named Sherry Blue, so if you commit the autobiographical fallacy, you can do that for the other stuff, but not for the divorce part of things. She says she's even willing to @mention me in the Safe for Work kink group, and pet lovers, and lonely guys. I hate pets, I tell her, but it's been 2 years since she left you, she says. Divorced or not, y'all are done. Ann's southern accent comes out when she's frustrated with me. It's comforting, her accent, even though I also know it came along with some history of abuse and collard greens. Ann makes it seem like 2 years is a long time, but it doesn't feel so long to me. I'm trying to finish my novel, I tell her. She takes a deep breath and then sighs. I love my friend. She never lies to me. When she's exasperated, she exasperates. She tells me that I'm wasting my time with this book. She reminds me again that I've been working on this stupid book for longer than my boy has been alive. I now regret confessing that detail to her. This book is toxic to you, she says. I see it on your face. I take a selfie with my iPhone and look at it. She's right. Sorry. I'm compelled to apologize when people laugh, but it's supposed to be okay, right? I guess I also hate her for never lying to me. What about your boy, Anne says. He's not in the book, I say. But he is already 6 years old. You're a hell of a counter, I tell her. I'll mention you in the Mathis for Funny group. Take him somewhere nice, she says. Worry about writing your grandparents' story when your son is out of the house. Forget about the book. Imagine what you could do if you let that turd go. It hurts when she calls it a turd. A burden, yes. Something that destroyed my marriage and negatively impacts my ability to parent and has stunted my growth emotionally, maybe. But a turd, that's going too far. Okay, so I'm going to skip to the point where Anne sets him up on a blind date at Anne's house. But he's so nervous about that he calls in sick at work, and Anne has to pick up the slack because he didn't go to work that day. But he still comes to the blind date at Anne's house. When I get to Anne's house, her husband gives me an exaggerated, "How are you doing?" which is the encrypted password for, "I know every detail about your life, but can't admit it because you haven't actually told me directly, so I'm stuck with vague phrases like, 'How are you doing?'" The blind date lady they set me up with is running late because she is driving in from Gresham. I say, "Gresham?" And I make my disgust obvious as if I use the nausea emoticon. I have nothing against Gresham, sorry, I'm going to probably change that. Seems like a low blow. It's just temporary, Anne assures me. She is moving next week to the Alberta area. We all sigh in relief. I asked Anne if she had fun today, completely forgetting that today was supposed to be a work day, and she says, "Good, except I spent the whole day writing a blog post about a stupid new feature because my selfish coworker pretended to be sick today." Oopsie daisy, I say, in the same way that my voice says it. She looks at me in that angry way that makes me realize that the rules for funny are a little different when your friends have been cleaning up your mess. I spent the day working on my dead novel. In the novel, the KKK is about to send a brick through the front window of my grandfather's store, and this act is going to nearly destroy my family, my fictional family at least. Anne's husband, who I'll now refer to with the username Hubby, asks if we want gin martinis. We both say yes in all caps. We talk about Hubby's beer project. Since they don't own a car like any self-respecting pork hunter, he is converting his garage to his own personal brewery and is currently working on a lager, 2 IPAs, and a stout with molasses and ginger and Earl Grey tea. Oddly enough, they're out of beer, but I still enjoy hearing him talk about it. I like men who are into projects. They're charming. And I like hearing about projects that don't kill the soul. I can see that Anne loves the guy, and that's nice too. She teases him about his obsession, but she doesn't try to save him the way she tries to save me. I don't know whether to be flattered or offended or something else. We get so into the the martinis and the brewing talk that when blind date from Gresham walks in the door, we look at her like she's the Gresham burglar. She's a pretty woman. If I were telling a story with detailed descriptions, some good ones would go here. But for the most part, I focus on the smile, which is pixelated slightly since I'm wearing my reading glasses by mistake. But I can tell the smile is nice. She seems amused at the awkwardness of the situation. When she hugs Anne, it's almost like she is tweeting, "Blind dates are awkward and everyone knows it." And I notice she checks me out just for a split second while hugging Anne. And she doesn't leave the house immediately. Level 1 completed. She shakes my hand, and I pretend to have a sturdy handshake. Hubby makes a first martini for Gresham blind date and a second round for everyone else. There are pimento olives in there, I forgot to tell you. The martini group at work would be very impressed. I look at my imaginary watch on my real hairy arm and I say, look at the time, I need to call in sick somewhere. Anne talks to me like a dog. Stay, she says. Gresham Blind Date tells me her name is Kitty, which is straight out of the porn name generator that I created last month for Hack Day. But when she doesn't smile, I try to roll with it. Kitty and Anne talk about the beach trip they are planning. Girls only. I force myself not to ask if I can come along, even though I hate beaches. I bet I'll like talking to them for a weekend. While they talk, Kitty wiggles her hips like she is dancing in the chair. I hope she isn't a dancer type, though. Nothing against dancers. It is just that dancers make me realize how much I hate myself for not knowing how to dance properly. Kitty tells us she wants to go on a swim in the ocean before the summer is over. In the real life, physical ocean, I ask? Isn't the Pacific cold and dangerous and horrible and violent and cold? She looks at me for too long. I look at Anne and hubby, hoping someone can save my sinking ship. Kitty finally says, when you swim in the ocean, you can't think about anything else except staying afloat. She looks at the ceiling like there's some kind of beauty to this experience. I don't think she has a sense of humor. Her biceps and her shoulders are big and strong and superhero looking. Another thing about swimming in the ocean, she says. She lifts up a finger and shakes it towards me a few times. I'm expecting another tediously profound insight, but then she says it stops me from fantasizing about cutting off my ex-husband's cock. She closes her eyes, takes a deep breath, and presses her hand to her chest and then looks at me. Oops, she says, I wasn't supposed to say that out loud. It is exactly this line in the code where I like this girl. Level 2 completed. I ask her what else she is into. It doesn't come out right. I meant to just avoid using the cliche day job question, but I fear that it comes off like I'm a pervert. I'm into novelty piggy banks, she tells me. I start to giggle, but then I notice no one else is giggling. Level 3 failed. So I ask, what do you do for a living? Sell piggy banks on eBay? She tells me yes. She is so serious. I work on my martini and wait for someone to firebomb the house. In my awkwardness, I tell everyone that my son is obsessed with a show called The Octonauts, and it is about these land animals that help sea creatures and live in an underwater space station called the Octopod and drive around in something called gups. They all look at me like I'm talking from an outer space station. Even though the joint custody is split up so that I see the boy almost every other day, I still miss him when he isn't with me. When he is with me, I'm trying to write a novel. When he isn't with me, I ache for him, and I want him to save me from my novel. He has a beautiful cowlick. I ask Gresham Blind Date if she has an octopus piggy bank, and then she begins crying like I just ripped her heart out through her mouth. Not the quiet kind of crying, but loud, hoarse kind of crying. Horse-like crying. Anne hugs her and presses Kitty's face into her shoulder and walks her to the bedroom. I apologize to hubby and then tell him I should go, to which he says, forget it, Jake, it's Chinatown. As if that makes any sense. And then I go to the bedroom door and apologize through the door to Anne and Gresham Blind Date. I don't hear crying, but their talking still seems too private to interrupt, and they don't seem to hear me, or they ignore me, so I get out of there fast. Internal error 500. The server encountered an unexpected condition which prevented it from fulfilling the request. I'm going to stop there.